All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. and the first agenda item is the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next agenda item is correspondence, visitors, and public comments. Yes.
I'm here for the bees.
Okay. No bees.
Not right now.
Oh, I don't. You might get surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Wait for them to
See ya.
Agenda review. Julie, do you have anything different? I think we got everything.
I don't think so. Oh, the only thing is Pierrette had wanted to talk about adding, I think, a lane to
Yeah,
negotiations. We don't need a motion for that, but we can discuss it somewhere.
Yeah,
where you'd like to put
that's
that.
gonna put that in when I asked you to add when the negotiation updates number 10.
Okay,
Yep.
do that. Should you really want to do that, sorry.
Guess what you're doing.
Oh, we can't.
All right, next, if I could get a motion to accept the minutes of October 8th, 2024.
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion.
Oh, never mind. Go
All
ahead.
right, Elaine,
I'll second.
thank you, Peter. Any discussion, changes, or comments? All right, all those in favor of accepting the October 8th minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
I'll abstain.
And one abstention, yep. 8-0-1. All right, next we have the administrative reports. Joyce with Franklin. Did anybody want to make any comments? I know I wanted to say it was good to hear, Joyce, that you found somebody, at least for the first half, a retiree coming in to fill that position. And
Yes. We are so thankful to have found that Karina Stanley said she would help us out, at least for as long as she can, because of the state retirement rules. But to have found somebody as well qualified as Karina, we were just so excited. She's been a teacher in Swanton for years. She was librarian, she's done intervention, and so we are just thrilled to have her. And I know some of you know her, so please, if you see her, thank her for us again. It's just wonderful to have her on board, and I just can't thank Heather Digby and Bree Trainer again enough for all they have been doing and continue to do to help her plan. And we've done a gradual release of teaching responsibilities, and just really appreciate everything they've done. And yeah, just really fortunate to have her at least for a while. Thank you, Jen, for saying that.
you're welcome. Anybody else? Was there anything upcoming that you didn't get a chance to put on your report, Joyce?
Anything that I didn't put on my report, you said?
Yeah, anything upcoming that you're excited about that you didn't get a chance to put on your report?
Oh my gosh. Things I'm excited about. Oh gosh, I didn't, but some of them I'm gonna talk about in my next report, so I'll save it. And it looks like you have guests there, so I have things I'll save for my next report, but things we have fire safety, and we've got our Red Ribbon Week coming up, which is our promoting drug awareness and healthy choices week coming up. We're so excited about our Love to Read event coming up on November 7th. Veterans Day, I cannot believe November is coming. But I do want to just highlight the fall farm to school activities, because that is just such a special thing. The kids were so proud of their harvesting of the garden, and the sixth graders so proud of everything they did to chop up the vegetables and measure and do everything for the dinner. And it was so great having so many extended family members come into school for that. So yeah, everything just I want to say happy summer evenings. I was just down at a soccer game, the final soccer game of the year, and usually it's snowing, so I'm excited about that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Next, Swanton, Chris, Jess, how are you guys tonight?
Great, thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Chris. Just gonna, I guess I'll just kind of put it all into Franklin, Swanton, and Highgate, that you all seem to be having the same problem of substitutes and teachers and stuff with that. You're working, all of you are working through it, so I really appreciate that you guys are doing that. I like hearing how you're going about doing it, so thank you for that. Does anybody have anything for Swanton? Anything special you want to say, Chris or Jess?
Yeah, I'd love to just point out to folks that I included on October 28th, we're going to be celebrating National Mentoring Day at school with a little celebration after school. So if any board members are available and want to come by, Saturday is National Mentoring Day, but our celebration's Monday at 3 o'clock. And it's a great opportunity. We pull all of our mentors and mentees together just really briefly after school to thank them for their hard work and to celebrate our mentoring program, which is a really important support that we have for our new teachers. So I just wanted to draw attention to that coming up on Monday. And also just to draw attention to, in advance to November 22nd, is our Family Give Thanks Luncheon. So also, again, the board is invited and welcome to join us for that as well. We invite families to come in and have lunch with their kiddos here at school, and we'd love anyone to join us for that as well. So those are two great opportunities for the board to join us in celebrating good things at school.
Thank you, Chris.
I have a question for Chris. Chris, have you had any reaction from students or faculty personnel about the renovations we did this summer?
About the what, Don?
The renovations that went on at the school this summer?
Yeah, certainly people are excited about those things. And I think probably the most exciting renovation, and I'm going to use the term in the broad sense, that folks get excited about every day is the work that we did on the PA system. Certainly folks get excited about the physical building renovations, but the new PA system is something we celebrate every morning when our 6th grade students come to the office and do the morning announcements and the PA system doesn't cut out and it's be able to be heard by everybody. And so that's something we get a lot of compliments on, so for sure.
Thank you.
I wanted to add just a little bit and elaborate as to what Chris was talking about as far as the reading work and the math work that's happening in classrooms. We are all using new ARC framework, and Chris and I have been in classrooms really with a focus in mind around literacy. And when we go in, our lens is always kind of how is ARC being used in each of these classrooms. And we really have talked about multiple times how blown away we are with how teachers are kind of utilizing that framework and how kids are responding to it. It really is beautiful. And there was lots of great things happening around math too. We had some special educators sharing about training that they just went to. And it just sounded absolutely phenomenal. We have the Renaissance study that's going on in 4th and 5th grade, so lots of really fun things. And it's National Bus Safety Week this week, in case anyone didn't know. We're doing lots of bus evacuations this week, so lots of good things happening.
Thank you, Jess. Anything else for Swanton? Okay. Cruising right along to Highgate. Anybody? Anything? Yes. I appreciate the updates. I show up your challenges and how you're handling them in full details.
Absolutely.
It's really great. So appreciate that.
I felt bad. I was like, oh, it's nice to read something that isn't about staffing, but then I'm like, oh, but is it?
It's not quite as different. A little
When you
different.
got to the bottom, you were
Yeah.
Yeah. So. All right. So moving right along.
Down here.
Next to you, Don.
Joyce, Chris, and Jess, if you want, you can stay if you want to know about this presentation, or you can sign off. Thank you. Right, the next item is the presentations and discussions, and first we have the MVSD Elementary Teacher of the Year. So, is it pronounced
Did you
Amy?
share a document?
I have it up, don't worry, I'll share it out. This will be quick, I'm just gonna share, so Julie can put it up here for you. And while she's doing that, just some things I left for you is the agenda tonight if you need it. We are selling Hawkware if you're interested. It is due tomorrow, so I'm sorry that it's only a day, but you have access to it. Some mints to keep you fresh on your toes. And there are stickers from the PTKO that they are selling, but you all have one. That way you can put some swag wherever
Thank
you'd
you.
like to represent Highgate. And this year, we were fortunate at Highgate to nominate an UVM's Outstanding Educator of the Year from MVSD Schools. And once we're up there, we are very excited to announce Christina Therian. If you do not know Christina Therian, she's been here for a long time, over 20 years here at Highgate. She was a second grade, third grade teacher for a very, very long time and moved into intervention.
A lot of the varies.
Yeah.
I know that.
She's been here for a time. But what I wanted you at least to see was that is the news article that came out that highlighted her, which was actually really well done. Taylor Nestor had a really nice article. So I did link it there in the bottom for you to read, and then the complete bottom is what I read out during the assembly to students about Christina. But she's just one of those colleagues that people reach out to all the time, and she goes to conferences, training all the time to better her craft, and she's a very talented educator, and specifically right now interventionist. And so I think it was very, very well received, and we will celebrate her as a school in an event we're going to hold, and then we do go to UVM, the Dudley Center, I think it is, November 8th, something like that, for an evening celebration that UVM puts on. But at least wanted you to have that and have access so you can see the announcement that was made.
It was a great morning.
Yeah, agreed.
And it was especially funny because her husband and her son came, and she was supposed to be surprised, but she spotted them.
Well, someone actually told her they were there.
Oh,
They didn't
no.
realize, like, no, don't
And
say
she
anything,
kept
but it's
saying-
all right. She
I
would
was
have
like,
found out.
what's happening? I'm like, it's nothing. It's bring your boys to school. It's just fine.
Just fine. It's just what you want.
Great. Really was. I'll put this in your drive so that
Oh,
you
thank
can
you.
do
Thank you,
it.
I think that's excellent.
I'll just add as well,
Oh, yeah.
I've met Christine and she's worked with my kids and she's fantastic.
Yeah, she
So,
really is.
Well deserved.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. Right. Oh, wow, excellent timing.
Was it?
Yeah, we are ready for you. I was just gonna come get you. You just knew.
All about the bees, fourth grade science presentation.
So, hello everybody, thanks for coming. I'm Bethany Bartlett, I am the fourth grade teacher here at Highgate. And I have 4 lovely students here who want to teach you a little bit about bees and the importance of them. We started with learning about Earth and Earth's formation, how it's different from other planets. Started talking about plants and animals, and just organically kind of started conversing about the bees and how important they are. My father's a beekeeper, so he came from BFA, St. Albans. He was a teacher years back. He came, did a presentation about bees with the students. They got really into it, really kind of asking a lot of great questions, wanting to do more readings. So they wanted to kind of come and share some of the things that they've learned. So I have very little to do with this. I kind of said 4th graders take over. So we have Eva, Nora, Ottilia, and Mac. And they're just
families.
here to kind of, and their families have all joined us too. So they're just here to kind of talk about it a little bit. I'll be giving some prompting questions along the way, but I'm just going to kind of let them start over. So Mackenzie, we're going to start with you, just talking about the pollination bees.
Right here?
Yeah, right there.
Right there. So bees go to flower, getting pollen on them, and then they go to like another flower, and they get more pollen on them, and they just go to flower.
Wow.
Because then they can pollinate the flowers.
Why?
Because if we don't pollinate the flowers, there would be no tree or anything. There would be no trees, and if there's no trees, there will be no oxygen. And if there's no oxygen, there will be no people.
Absolutely. What do you know about the bees?
That the worker bees who go get the pollen are only girls.
They're all females, right?
Yeah.
Awesome, great. What do they do after pollination, Ottilia?
When they're done pollinating, they go to the hive to start making the honey by throwing it up in each other's mouths. And then when they're done, they put it into the comb thing, and then when the honey's ready, they feed it to their babies, and if bees don't know where the food is, they do the waggle dance to show where the food is.
What's the waggle dance? Can you explain
So
that?
they shake their butts around in figure 8.
That's exactly what they do. Awesome. So how do they make the honey, Eva?
How they make the honey is the bees, they throw it up in each other's mouths, because there's like a thing called enzyme in their stomachs that helps the nectar form into the honey, and then they put it in a honeycomb, which is like where they store it and store the honey, and then they fan it and they stir it until it crystallizes, and they feed it to the babies, which is food for them and all the other things.
Awesome. So then what does that have to do with us, Nora?
There's the beekeeper who has a smoker. He smokes the hive. When the bees, they think the hive is on fire, and they also can't see, so they start eating all the honey to save it, and that makes them sleepy. And then the hive pulls out the frame, and they take the frame to where they get the honey from the frame, and they use like a little comb, and they scrape off the crystal stuff on top of it to cap it, and then they put it to take the honey out of the crystal, and it whooshes the honey out of the little like hole, their cap things, and it goes down, and then they strain it to take all like the dead bees and the crystal stuff out.
Absolutely. And then what does it look like when it's done?
It looks something like this.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we have honey, those of you who want to try it. Each student has some really cool information as well that they wanted to share. Nora, if you want to start with your fun fact?
The boy bees, they get kicked out in the winter.
Yeah.
And then they just die.
We have the right idea.
My fun fact is that the buzzing noise you hear is the wings, and they flap. The bees flap their wings 11,000 times per minute. Bees have 5 eyes, one on top of them, 2 in front of them, and 1 on each side.
My fact is that the worker bees only live to 4 to 6 weeks, and the drones live to 6 to 8 weeks, and the queens live to 4 to 5 years.
We were wondering if any of you had questions for them. Their knowledge on bees is abundant. They taught my father some things when he came. So are there any questions about bees that the girls might be able to answer?
I have a question. So if the beekeeper takes the honey away from them, then what do they feed the babies?
They don't take all the honey because bees actually make extra, kind of like they know that we're gonna take it. So they still have honey to feed the babies. We just take the extra stuff because if we took like more than we were supposed to, then it's most likely that the hive will die.
Very good.
Have any of you put on what I call the beekeeper's garb and gone out when they remove the honey from the hives?
Have any of you gone and removed honey from the hives before?
No.
It's quite an experience, so if you can get an adult to go with you with hives, it's scary. When I've done it, you just don't move too quickly because of emotional, but it's really something to see them working.
We have watched some videos of my father doing it. We've seen videos of the bees coming out of the hives.
Did you guys get to eat honey in the class?
Yeah, sometimes.
If they chose to.
Do the bees come back does the queen, when you rephrase that, because the other bees pass away, but does the queen live there for the year, like in the winter, or does she fly away and she comes back, or what happens in the winter time?
The queen bee lives in the hive all the time. She doesn't usually go out. But like when she dies, like the person who's like taking care of the bees, the beekeeper, they will like take out the queen and like bury them or something. I don't know. And then like they feed one of the girl baby bees like a special royal jelly, so their body will be able to produce eggs, and the other girl bees will become worker bees.
Miss Heather in the back.
So if you girls had to guess whose wings move faster, do you think it would be a bee or a hummingbird? If you only had to guess, does it have to be a right or wrong answer?
Bees.
I think bees too, because they're smaller. Yeah, cool, awesome.
People talk a lot about there being fewer bees than there used to be. Did you learn at all about that? And if that's true in Vermont?
So yeah, we did learn a little bit about that. People like they're killing them. There's not like.
Do we remember why they're dying? What are some people doing and not meaning to?
There's like, they take away like their flowers. Like when you pick flowers, the bees need those flowers to collect pollen and to get nectar to make honey. And then if they don't have nectar to make honey, they can't feed their babies. And if their babies aren't fed, they starve.
We talked a little bit about things that we put on fruits, right? Or vegetables. What were those called, do you remember? Pesticides?
Yeah.
And what happens, Otilia, with the pesticides? Do you remember?
Like it's dangerous for them to eat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it kills other insects, but it also
Kills them.
May I give these students a homework assignment?
Oh, yes, please.
No homework assignment? Okay, well, you may have talked with your parents or your neighbors or your teachers about this one, but there has been a piece of legislation in the Vermont legislature for recent years that would, if passed, protect the bees and reduce the chemicals that are killing a lot of them off. But so far, the legislature has not seen fit to do anything about it. They take testimony, and they talk about it, and they think about it, and put a study committee about it and start over. So your class project, since you seem to be very informative, would be find your local legislators and send them a nice note telling them how important bees are, and ask them to maybe wake up and learn what you know. And, well, maybe you won't say that, but see how smart they are, because it's gonna come back this next year, January probably, and it's really something that needs to happen. But what happens with legislation, as many of the adults know, lobbyists are very powerful, and there are some lobbyists who really don't want to lose their right to use certain products.
How long do we have if bees disappeared off the face of the earth today? How long would humans have? Nancy, do you remember?
They would live for 2 years.
We'd have about 2 years to live if we lost all bees and pollinators. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for what people can do to help keep bees safe and have them thrive in our yards and stuff?
You could put up bee hives or some things in your yard, like the bee box or something. And if you find a beehive in a tree or on the side of your house or something, just maybe you could make sure that it's looking healthy and try to not destroy it or make it die.
I have a big one inside of my wall of my office. It buzzes, the wall in my office buzzes. It's so big. So it's okay to just leave them there, right? They're not gonna hurt anybody.
Just don't, if you don't hurt them, they won't hurt you.
And also you could hire or ask a beekeeper if they could come and take the hive, and sometimes they can put it into their hive with the other bees, and then they have even more. But if there's a queen bee in there, which there probably is, if there's a hive, then you need to you can't keep the queen bee because the queen bees will fight, so you can only keep one queen, but you can ask the beekeeper to take those.
Thank you.
What you could also do is when a bee is pollinating a flower, don't touch it, because when you get them mad, they try to sting you, and then when they sting you, they die after.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board before we pack up?
I just want to say thank you so much, girls, for giving us all this information. I think this was amazing. Unbelievable.
We'll get a t-shirt to that.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
They have
What's that?
Oh, yeah, no.
It is, it's interesting.
I'll bring it to these girls.
Like
2 years, that's 2 years. Right? Yeah.
Great. Next agenda item is busing update.
So I wanted to give the board an update. Administration met with leadership of Terracel, Grand Avenue busing, so the busing for Highgate, much of MVU, and Swanton. And we were talking about the challenges they're experiencing with hiring drivers and how that has impacted things. So they are very short drivers. They had another company that enticed a number of drivers away. So that happened in a swoop. And then just in general, it is a difficult job to fill. They're recruiting very heavily. Heck, they're recruiting in my own family. That they really do. If anybody they think may have a CDL or be interested in driving or have a history of driving, that they're really, I just want to make sure that people know that they are working hard on that aspect of it. But it has impacted some of our routes. It has impacted some of the regular drivers that have happened too. So we had a couple issues that we talked through. One was marking of the buses, which they took care of with some new magnets. We talked about when there are shuffles that have to happen because of shortness of drivers, you may have in Highgate a driver that usually drives in Sheldon or in St. Albans or another area that they cover, so that then that driver isn't as familiar with students, and sometimes that can impact how things go on the bus. So we talked about that and how we want to minimize that. The bigger issue has been in Swanton, where there is, because that's where the most buses are, and there have been just not enough drivers on certain days of the week, not all the time. So we discussed the plan and what we found, because we don't want to cancel any routes. They had already consolidated the routes, so those buses are really full. Wanted to make sure that parents understood, because it's really difficult to call 70 different parents at the last minute and saying your kid's going to be home 10 minutes early or 10 minutes late. We always say there should be a window of a certain amount of time that you can expect your child home. Those routes affected, we've expanded that window. We're going to have better opportunity to notify them when there are predictable days that it's going to happen. But what the solution has turned out to be is Route 11 is the quick route right in Swan. It goes right down Canada Street, and it's right in the village pretty much. That's a quick 15-minute route. So those kids are getting picked up 5 minutes earlier. And then those kids are arriving to, many of them are the daycares right along that area. And so that's a quick route. And then that bus is coming back to do Route 7, which is the longer route. So those kids will be getting home about 10 minutes late. If all goes well and all the children's families are there to greet them at the time, so there's always some bumps. But we wanted to make sure that you know that we've been working closely with the bus company, that Chris drafted with others a nice letter that went to families to notify them of why this is happening and what the plan is. It seems to be going pretty well. I mean, it's tricky when something is, if a route is delayed a lot longer, then you've got 50 kids hanging outside. They stick together in a group for a little bit of time. It gets a little tricky to supervise them so late, and families wondering. So we also have a period of time where we're like, if they don't come home by this time, that's when you should really be calling the school and find out what's going on and give you an update. So far, things seem to be going pretty well with that plan. But it is one of those, schools around the state are canceling routes, are just saying every Wednesday your neighborhood's not having a bus, those and then they rotate that through the week so that they have enough coverage. We've done everything we can, and they have done everything they can really to not cancel anything. But it's always been a challenge. The other thing I wanted to make sure that you all knew, because at the start of every year, and particularly when you've got different drivers on buses and these challenges of behavior, we have been making sure that people contact the school and talk to those that can really investigate and find out what's going on. But last year we were talking about bus cameras, and this year we've determined that for our Swanton and Highgate's buses, we want to get bus cameras. And it's not, and we had talked about using our BESSER funds for it before, but then there were other things that were really, we were purchasing a reading program, things like that. So we made some adjustments. we have a number of capital projects that couldn't happen because of timeline, and we have revenue that we have unexpended, funds there. We have Medicaid funds that we could use for this.
Use it for something else.
Or
and then
use,
shift.
and then offset with revenue. Last year, I think the quote was about half what we're expecting it to be now, but it is expensive because you're looking at 3 devices on each bus. But we really think that it will be helpful both when, when we're looking at somebody who's maybe destroying the bus, or if students are having a fight, or if students are saying the bus driver yelled at them. The cameras can really help with all of those things, and it makes the time it takes to investigate an issue is much faster. And it's a lot easier to get to what really happened when you're looking at a video. We do have a policy, only school officials can look at the videos. That's something that we like to make really clear to families, that, we're not showing you the video of things that happen, but the school officials look at it. But I think it's something that we should move forward on. I think it will help a great deal. Most of the districts around us do have bus cameras.
So what is the timeline for getting cameras into the buses? And you also said Highgate and Swanton. Is that including the routes to NVU and MVU students?
Yeah, it's the same. All the Grand Ave Carousel buses.
How many buses do we have?
Swanton's running 11 right now. How many is Highgate running?
We have 6.
So about 17 buses.
And are we going to be going off of the same security camera procedure that we have in place, or are we going to modify or update that for the buses
I
specifically?
think we already modified it for bus cameras, but if we need to adjust it although, excuse me, we'll look at it before we install them to make sure it's meeting our needs.
It looked like it was vague enough.
Yeah. We need to be more specific, we can do that.
Well, just because I would imagine, right, like you solve one problem, you create another,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
With parents sometimes and wanting to see footage of issues, because I don't know about other board members, but I hear a lot about buses, a lot. And there's 2 sides. There's the drivers, the routes, but there's also the behavior. I know a lot of it stems from not the elementary age students, but it's coming from the older ones. So hopefully this is something, when these gets installed, is there going to be something that's like rolled out, or like a discussion?
Yes, I think it would be important to then share like a procedure and information about the cameras and what it can help with and what it can't help with. But I know from experience of working in a district where we had them, what we often will have now is a 3rd grader will say, some big kid, I don't know his name, did or said a thing. And if you can look at the bus footage as a principal, you can pinpoint often who that student is and talk with the high school principal. Or sometimes it's not a high school kid, sometimes it's a 6th grader, but the 3rd grader doesn't recognize them. Those kinds of things happen. So it really can help, instead of hours of investigation, it can sometimes take 5-10 minutes to find out what's going on and contact the right students and settle that out. So I think you're right. Once they're ready, we can have sort of a FAQ about what this means for kids and families.
And that's particularly going to include the middle school and high schoolers?
All the kids are on that bus, yeah.
And what is like the timeline for when we can get them and actually have them
I don't know,
on
we
the
just got the
bus?
quote today, so.
I think it's fairly quick.
Fairly quick.
Does the vendor come in and install them?
I honestly don't know that, Don. I haven't
Or
had
the
a
bus
chance to look at
company
these quotes.
installs them?
I think the bus company probably installs them because I know they move them around sometimes, so I have a feeling the bus company, but I
So they
haven't.
are mobile, right? They change a
Yeah,
bus or
they're
so?
small.
What kind of money do we talk about per unit? Any idea?
Well, it's different depending on which cameras, and there's freight assigned, quite a lot of freight assigned. But it's about 71,000 overall to put 3 cameras on each bus with a couple of extras.
3 on each bus?
You need a motion to approve that, or are you good?
Well, we
don't
haven't
have
chosen, we haven't chosen anything in particular.
I guess my question would be, why 3 cameras?
Front, back, middle.
Some places actually put them outside the bus also. We did get a quote for that, but it's another $20,000.
Put them outside the bus?
They put them on the stop sign that goes out so that you can catch people who go around. It's not used very often, and
I don't think that's a good investment.
I think that's more, we didn't think that either. I was really hoping to have the coverage required inside a packed bus of kids so that we can really get a good sense of what's going on.
I'm really pleased that this was on the agenda. When I saw it, I first was gonna call you and thank you. Because rumors around Swanton are that they've lost some of their very good people.
They have,
Not only their bus drivers, but that management has changed. And I won't tell you some of the comments that were made, but they were, confusion, I guess, would be one of the words, nice words they used, with the change in management and change in people.
and that's why we had a
I hope it
meeting.
all works out. I
Right.
really do.
We need it to work out.
Who's,
It has
for
to
our
work
kids.
out.
who's going to own the footage? Is it us or the bus company?
The cameras and footage are ours.
So they're ours. Is it still, just curious, it's gonna be all online digital and we have
I think
access to
these,
it?
after so much time, they erase the footage, but I can check on that. But
No,
I
I'm
think that's
just,
what Jason
so
told me.
it's not the bus company. We don't have to ask the bus company to view it. We have it and access to it
Right.
at any time.
So is that something for next month? You can bring us the costs and then we'll do a vote.
Yes, I'd like to do that.
That'd be great.
Because if it was a small amount of money, we make purchases within the budget all the time, but this is bigger and, well, I think important.
And Derek has, asked for other quotes from other companies. This company is in line with everybody else and it's the one that the bus company would like us to purchase because it's the same system they have in all the other buses. So they're very familiar with it.
We also have a finance committee meeting too. If you have some quotes, you can include.
So we'll put that for next month to get an update on
Do
pricing
those
and
have
the.
audio?
They didn't before, so I don't know if the newer ones do.
Okay.
So I don't know that they do. So it's not very good for me, I'm whispering to Yeshua and I say something terrible and, there's a dispute over it. But,
Actually, I
But
just
they-
searched the
some of
quote and
the
it does
newer-
say audio, so maybe.
so that may be,
Maybe
so
they changed.
we may need to adjust the procedure to reflect audio as well.
Sorry, we literally just got this like 10, 15 minutes ago.
Well, it's great to get an update on it and that we can move forward and put it as a
Just
vote
one-
for next month and what the costs are and if our policy needs to be changed,
We can do it at that
We
meeting.
can do that meeting as well.
Yeah,
All in one?
I'd like to vote on it next board meeting.
We are.
Can we include depending on, the various quotes that come in, what those add-ons might be, like the stop sign, camera?
we have
Like, is it the same for all of them, or just
it's
'cause,
broken
like,
down. Yeah, we can.
for me, that seems like a very important thing to have, because I've witnessed it on my own road, and,
It's happening more and more if you
it
talk to the
really
bus
is,
company. Yeah.
it happens a lot, and so, I know that 20,000 sounds like a huge amount, but when we're looking at our budget and our kids' safety, I feel like that, I'd like to discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we can
Yeah,
get
I'll
the
have Derek, he's a
different
little more
prices.
versed in
Sure.
some of the language in there, so I'll have him break them apart a little bit more.
It'd be nice to know how many times our reporters see our buses being passed. I don't disagree with Megan, but I just think another $20,000, if it's not a real problem in our district. I know it may be a problem in other places.
I know they brought it up before
They have.
as getting worse, but that was last year.
I know especially when buses are parked and their flashing lights are on, people pass them, which is illegal. I know we actually get reports often, believe it or not.
When they're going downhill, I've seen it.
Yeah.
So
Or
we'll
I mean,
catch
just
it. When
literally
they're-
parked out here.
Yeah, but when
Cars
they're
will-
parked to let a student off, I've seen it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Going to get
Yeah.
my mail down my hill, that they're parked like this and people to fly by.
And
To let a student off.
if the bus company, the bus driver can pull that and that person gets a citation right away, right? So that's,
So what do we do now? Do we call the police and give them the number?
Yeah, we give information to the police.
A lot of people don't have license plates right now.
Or they're also zooming by, so
Yeah.
being able
So,
to catch
It's a
that.
matter of if they are able to catch the license plate.
Exactly. So sometimes it's more sensitive.
Well, I appreciate you bringing this because this is something that I've heard a lot about, and I hope this gets kind of segued into doing something, because I know that bullying on the bus, and there's a lot of issues, and it's affecting the classrooms, and it's very disruptive. So hopefully, this is something that I would be very public about personally to the community, that we're doing this, and hopefully people and also parents too take a bit more responsibility, and also not accepting bad behavior, because all of this is still a privilege, the buses, that we're spending a lot of money on and our district needs very badly, but it's still a privilege. And so I think it should be treated like that for students who get caught, especially like bullying and harassing and those sort of things.
Absolutely. I think the cameras will certainly help pinpoint those issues a little more quickly.
And are they?
Especially if somebody calls us and tells us. We always have to get the call.
Well, there's two sides, because then you get, we hear of the complaints, and then there was one that I sent up, and I spoke to Christy about it, and she's like, actually, I only got an email 10 minutes before. I was like, So yeah, there's always two sides to it, but and I assume there's going to be some sort of insurance with it, Laura. Like because there's other side. Kids are going to be like, oh, there's cameras, and what happens if there's like destruction?
Oh, destroying the cameras? We would charge the families usually is what would happen, like any other property that we have, if it's.
So I that would be something too, that when this comes out, make it very clear that will be cost incurred on the families caught doing that, well ahead of time, so that it's not a secret, especially if we don't have insurance to just replace it at no cost.
I think we have insurance, but our deductible's $5,000, so we wouldn't make claims on cameras.
Oh, I didn't know, like sometimes you purchase software things and they come with their own.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's something like that.
It's not like a new iPhone.
Maybe there's a plan, I guess.
So next time, a motion to approve cameras, information about the cameras, and the policy, even if it doesn't need adjustments, we can talk about what it looks like. Okay. Great.
Perfect. Great. Next item is the policy adoption for E1 Title 1A, LVA, parent and family engagement.
So this is not a new policy, but the policy itself requires us, the board, to review it every year and make changes. This year, the changes made were the dates being changed. And oh my goodness, I think we changed an example of one of our engagement opportunities. Let me see if I can pop it out. And the implementation date, so really there were just date changes. And one example of a meeting was changed. I'm sorry that I don't know which one it was. I can send that to you afterwards. Kosha sent it to me in an email. But this still, the purpose of the review is to make sure that the school administrators review it and they make sure that they're still doing all of the pieces of it. And we are having really good parent community engagement with title funds. So we have a lot of families come to these events. When do you have yours, Yeshua?
I don't have my plan, but really whenever the PTK comes up, their November meeting, it'll be done then.
And we have a district-wide event also, so each school has one, and there's district-wide event,
Yes,
correct?
yeah.
And I think that's probably what Kosha added a sentence about the availability of translation services for parent conferences. So that was the only change.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I knew there was something. And we do. We have a district title event last year. It was really wonderful. This year we're changing it a little bit so that hopefully we won't conflict with Little League season. And we'll be able to have maybe more families attend. So we'd be looking for just approval of it, and then I just changed the review date to when we do it every year.
I'll make that motion. Thank you, Stephanie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Don. Any discussion?
Page 2. Bring it back to it. If I'm looking at the right. Okay, so the school years. 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, and I think the next one should be 2023 to 2024.
Yes.
And then at the very end where it's like signed off, that will be updated, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yes, this document is live on the website, so I think I just made that change, so it's live change already.
Mhm.
So when you approve it, I'll just add the date of review.
Good.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you very much. I try and do it every October, so I just have that stuck in my head that we do it.
All right, business office, budget timeline draft.
I shared a similar budget development timeline that I created for fiscal year '26 that we had last year. A few things that are slightly different is I have incorporated OpenGov software into this a little bit. Also, we're starting a little bit later than we did last year, so there's been a little bit of condensing. And also, I think Julie and I, there's not as much information as far as what drafts we're gonna bring you for each board meeting. Typically, I add salaries and benefits, and then we do contracts, and we move our way through. But I know we'd had some conversations about potentially having like student services come and do a presentation when we're doing the student services piece. So I guess just to note that it may be broken down a little differently this year, but I'll be sure to, give you the same notes and walk you through the changes.
We wanted to be able to talk about class sizes and our students-teacher ratio and pieces like that as we move through the parts of budget, so we can be explicit about that, where we are right now in terms of big picture, but we can talk about the average caseload size of a special educator and those kinds of things.
We're having a lot of those conversations now, but obviously we'll be bringing them to the committees also ahead of time. And also we've been working with JR around communication, coming up with more ideas for the board to do. We're thinking about little snippet videos, shorter videos, do more of those this year, maybe get staff incorporated, teachers with a board member or parents, and get some different community members. Also, that recent residency I went to they did a lot of research about getting principals more involved. Districts have moved away from that. People support their principals, using principals to be a voice for the school when you're marketing your budget or just putting things out there. We did some of that last year, but maybe we should do a little bit more. So we'll continue to talk with JR about that also.
So Yeshua has to do weekly videos?
Yeshua would love it. Yeshua would love it.
Yay.
Joyce, not so much.
And again, we don't want to go back to our days of when each of the principals were at a PowerPoint presentation that was filmed, that was, painful for all of them. And
I slightly disagree.
I know most everybody else thought it was painful. But when you have when JR interviews you for 20 minutes and then he uses 15 seconds of something wonderful that you use that really is meaningful, that's powerful. And that's what we want to see, is more of those kinds of pieces from the heart, from our teachers, from our principals, from students if we can. I think that would be great.
And Laura, just maybe make a quick note, like when we have the finance meeting, I'd like to find a way for you to, you're already, for sure already doing it, but showing where we're saving money. Because, I probably could have suggested Dawn, but we're gonna be at a little bit at the whim of the legislator this year when it comes to how it's going to go. And my feeling is that we're always at a slight disadvantage because the baseline assumption is that we're spending too much, even though our district is, I think, just doing what it needs to get by and just keep progressing for students. So somehow being able to like show this is where we've already saved or where we're not spending, I think it might be important to show, because there's going to be an assumption no matter what we do, well, you could have done less or you could have had less. So maybe there's a way we can just like kind of get ahead of that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, I do. I think the staffing, looking at the staffing and the classroom sizes, a lot of that work that we're doing and comparing to the state and all of that is gonna be a place where we could clearly identify that. To be honest with you, other than staffing and benefits, there are not a lot of areas where we are saving or money from the prior year. Everything has become more expensive. I mean, I can come up with ideas for sure, but we are in a world where inflation is out of control, and it's something we're gonna struggle with again in this budget season. Every contract we've received has gone up again, like software, I mean, transportation, tuition. So, yes, we will brainstorm, and I think you're right, if we can highlight any of those. There's just a lot going in the other direction too, unfortunately.
Well, just,
I think revenue is something we should be talking about more also. A lot of times people think that the only thing that funds education is their taxes, and that's absolutely not true. And we were very strategic with how we've used our revenue over the last couple of years to put ourselves in a pretty good position with Medicaid revenue and tailoring off ESSER and not hiring positions. So I think maybe focusing on, you know, where the dollars actually come from and how we've helped people out over time, you know, so, but yeah.
I think that also sort of, you know, it ties back to what I've been saying about looking at different configurations of like, because it demonstrates that we're not just blindly moving forward with the status quo. Like, we're looking at all of the different ways that we can utilize our buildings, our staff in the most efficient, equitable way possible. So I think that sort of goes hand in hand with, you know, we can't, like you said, we're not really saving because we have a budget because we need every cent that we budget for. But we're looking at other ways of optimizing that budget.
Constantly.
I think one thing that we've started the last couple of years, and I've received good feedback, and I think part of it is due to the fact that most people live in a building or own a building or visit a building. And therefore, they know when we are taking care of our buildings. So I'd like to see us in working with Peter and Stephanie and whoever's going to do the videos, but to show some of the things. The Franklin School course is fairly easy to show. It's a beautiful new building addition. But in some of the other places, what we've been able to do. And I don't mean that facilities should have a priority over anything else, but sometimes it's hard for the working public to see a change in curriculum. And I like it, we talk about our math and literacy and how it improves, but that's a little harder to understand sometimes, the numbers. And you know, you're only at 48%, but you've improved, and things. So I think, as I say, having a increased or ongoing emphasis on this is what we're using your taxpayer money for, to keep our buildings up to date. Because anybody who, I've been just shocked recently with trying to get some repairs on some of our rentals, $85 an hour, $65 an hour, if you can get people.
Well, and a lot of the things we've done, we haven't had to borrow for. They're energy efficient, so we have savings that way from the projects. Obviously with Franklin, we built more space, so it's more efficient, but there's more of it. So we have some things that we can highlight. Also, I think our classrooms are better for kids, and we know that it helps with student outcomes. You know, better lighting, so it's not overlit or underlit. Cleaner air, conditioned air, I think.
Highlighting those types of things. And I heard you say savings. One of the things is sometimes with some of the projects we've done, we spent money, so long-term we can save. And I think that's important for the public to know.
Absolutely.
Well, the two things that always come up the most is, so I've heard a lot about the not doing the parking lot. I actually heard it today. Because it's just very noticeable, like, oh, that parking lot is so bad. But the other thing, like you said, Laura, is like student outcomes. And I actually am thinking of the post-high school, like being able to show what we're doing and where we're going. We already do a lot and we show it, but just being able to really tie that to the money. So we're going to be talking about this for many months. But, before I forget, we have a board meeting on November 5th.
Yes.
Election Day. Do you want to have a meeting on Election Day?
Board.
I won't be able to make it that night.
I won't be here that night.
I just saw that and I'm like, maybe we should move that. I mean, who knows what's happening? Fireworks, like it could go a lot of ways, right? So, like
Not that early.
I don't know.
Polls aren't gonna close till 7 o'clock. But a couple of people may not, Peter, you may not be able to be there.
Do we want to
I
consider?
was thinking that if I did, it would probably be online and I'd have to leave at 7.
Yeah.
Do we want to consider maybe adjusting that meeting?
Let's see, we have a meeting on the 19th.
I think there's gonna be a big turnout.
Yeah, it's gonna be busy, so.
Jen, I don't know, your thoughts?
I'm just looking at my calendar. So,
Also, while you're looking at that, just a note that if you continue down, the budget informational meeting, I think Julie is researching, there's some new language in the law about the informational meeting, the annual meeting.
Yes, I have to reach out to the state's attorney's office, but I did speak with Sue Soblowski. And when the open meeting law, we got as you all did, the overview of the legislative session wrap up from last year. They were talking about changes in open meeting, and I was making sure that our committees were running correctly, all of those pieces. And they had changed for something, and I'm not gonna remember the exact term, but I'm gonna paraphrase, Australian ballot information meeting, essentially. And I said, I've never heard of such a thing. What is this? How is it like our annual meeting, our information meeting we have before town meeting? And they said, Sue said, it's acknowledging the fact that if you vote on your budget by Australian ballot completely, that you can move that information meeting up to 30 days before the meeting, because so many people vote early. So
That would be really helpful.
I'm going to, and she suggested that I confirm with the Secretary of State's office. So we'll bring that to the board so that in our timeline, we can think about whether instead of the day before the vote or because that window is less than 10 days. If people are voting a month ahead of time with early votes, and that maybe we need to have our information meeting earlier and then record it and push it out. And that doesn't mean that we're not continuing to, meet people and have coffee or do whatever the board thinks they need to do, but it wouldn't necessarily.
Well, also that week is usually the week of
School
school
vacation.
vacation, which is, a lot of people are
Right.
gone, so I
Yeah.
really do appreciate.
If we can do that, I think that may
Yeah.
help, get the information out earlier.
I mean, a ton of absentee ballots last year. I think Swan had like 400 or something. It was a big number. It's not a small amount, so you can reach those people before,
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
did
That's
you
great.
decide if we're gonna meet on, are we gonna meet on November 5th?
I would think that's probably not a good idea because we'll be missing 1, 2, 3, at least 3 members that night.
So do we want to
would
do
you the
back-to-back board meetings on the 12th and the 19th?
No, I would personally, I prefer if we could do the 6th to keep it in that week, which is a Wednesday, if that works for everybody.
We could do the 4th or the 6th.
I think the 4th already have a commitment. Would everybody be able to do Wednesday the 6th?
No. Yeah.
Just always that.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm either gonna be really in a great mood and be here, or I'm gonna be in the opposite and nobody's gonna wanna be around me. So, I think that next day is going to be,
I took it off from work.
exactly, so did I.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I think we may not know.
But regardless, I would prefer not the 6th. I would rather the 4th.
I can do the 7th, the 4th.
I can do the 7th as
The
well.
4th, I already have a commitment. It's a Monday night.
Why do I feel like I have to be somewhere on the 7th?
It's the UVM
I'm gonna say that would be wrong.
It's the
but-
UVM Outstanding Teacher Ceremony. I mean, you could meet. You'd have to meet on the 7th if that's what you wanted to do.
Is that a nighttime thing, UVM?
Yeah.
Let's change the thing.
Yes, they have. I mean, I could not.
I can try in the morning to see if I can cancel my commitment tomorrow morning for the 4th. But yeah, I probably should take that 5th off.
I think that's a good catch.
The other thing that's a little, just isn't falling quite right, sorry, I'm just trying to scroll to it.
Going back to the, going back to the budget timeline.
Yeah, so going back to the budget timeline, in January, which I know is very far away, but will come very quickly, we currently, if we're keeping with tradition, the community budget input forum would be the same day as a board meeting in January, 14th.
Okay.
So we might have to think about that or do it at the same time, not have the board meeting, like I don't, or one before the other, I don't know, or if we wanna move it, but that's just something to keep in mind.
They haven't been that long. We could do the community budget meeting first and then just finish with our meeting.
We can make it work all on the same night, I really believe.
I think we can too.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up.
Exactly, like, are 3 people definitely not coming, available on the 5th?
So Megan, you can do the 4th?
I can
Peter, you
do
can
the
do the
4th, but Jen can't. I mean, I can do the 5th too.
I can try to, I'd have to run out first thing tomorrow morning to see if I can change that commitment. So,
I mean, don't do it just for one person.
well, it won't be just one person, but it's Peter.
On the
On the
4th? Right, I'm asking, so on the 5th, Peter's not available.
Dawn.
And me.
Okay.
There's
Yeah,
3
there's
team
three.
members.
Okay.
All right, let's put it on the 4th, and if I can't be there, then we'll have to run the meeting.
Yeah, we can just keep it actually pretty short. I just want to make sure we vote on the bus. Jen. I don't want to wait for that, because
I'll
So it's the 4th?
the 4th.
So are we doing the 4th?
Monday the 4th, yeah.
Yep.
I will let some of you know, so I think we have some people planned.
Just wait for Cheryl's email.
That's usually my reminder too. I'm like, all right.
We're not gonna wait that long to find out.
I don't have much of a life.
Just thinking about this stuff.
You should be a justice of the peace then.
You know,
on the ballot.
I didn't think about it, I talked at the dinner table tonight.
Everybody justice of the peace, that's you.
Later in.
So it's not,
I just think it's
Yeah.
rubbish,
I
so.
don't know, I'm just going for just.
Any night.
Yeah.
No, they're short
Oh, yeah.
train.
All right, so Monday, November 4th at MVU.
So are we good with the timeline, or do we still have things to work through?
I think we're good for now, and people, if you could please send me feedback, and I'll keep tailoring it as we go also.
I just think it's, you know, we're trying to not just say, here's the giant spreadsheet of the budget where we talk about all the positions or all, but to maybe break with the OpenGov software, we can show some bar graphs of staffing and costs and what that's looked like over time. At the same time, we can talk about state averages and what our ratios look like and kinds of things we're looking at.
You're talking about a student ratio with teacher, you mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and to Megan's point, I think how we make the decisions, like sometimes is just as important as what the outcome is. I think people understanding how much thought goes into some of the things that we do.
Right, next agenda item is the survey results.
So we had some pretty good response. I want to shout out to Swanton and Highgate towns always, that's not very, always forward our Facebook survey so that we get a broader sense of the community. And share, nope, that's not what I'm trying to do. Honestly, today I cannot get out of my own way. Here we go. There you go. So we really wanted to look at a couple things, understanding the sources of information people consume. Where do you get most of your information about our schools, and how well does that meet your needs? A lot of people, emails and direct messaging from the schools, the newsletters, social media. We broke that down a little in terms of Facebook. The school district and the school-specific Facebook pages are where the majority of people replied that they get their information. Not so much the local newspaper, although I still think a certain population of folks does, so it continues, I think, to be smart for us to invest in that page that we do every year. Budget flyers, direct mail, a little bit parent-teacher, school board meetings, public access. So a lot of direct messaging from the school, and that I'm sure is mostly families. How satisfied people are, the majority of people were in the middle. It was nice to see that people tended to be a little more in the middle to more satisfied than less satisfied.
So one is least.
One is least,
most.
5 is most. And are you getting the information you're looking for and in the ways you hope for? So people were looking for, what are you interested in? Salaries and benefits and contracts and purchase services are the most, really. Facilities and maintenance right up there. Transportation, special ed, instructional materials. Those are lesser, they're big parts of the budget, but they were less popular. Other, people had to write in the other, and so there were 3 people who just put other. Satisfied, some people wanted a detailed breakdown of everything, which we of course provide. Overall expenditures, after school and athletics, everything the budget's for. So I think it was pretty clear that most people are looking for those big buckets of information. And then for some that want the detailed view, we do always make sure that we have that on our website that's available for people. Would you like to understand about how the budget impacts student achievement? That was a big one. Program offerings, class size, school facilities, how taxes are calculated. That was really, I think, an important one to see, because that's what we came across last year, right? Our budget was actually resulting in a decrease in our share of the tax rate. It was overall state education fund and statewide spending that was impacting the rest. So that was something I think that will be important, especially as they tinker with things, and already have tinkered with some. It'll be important to explain that.
The state has promised yet again, and they've hired Nate Levinson. Also, so they're supposed to be.
Same guy from a few years ago?
But they've hired him to help school districts explain what's going on in a more consistent manner, because people, last year it was just, everybody was left to their own devices. So it'd be a lot better if the message is consistent across, about what's happening, and so they're supposed to be working on that.
And again, what communication channels would you prefer to receive budget information? Email, text message, I'm sure that's mostly families, social media, school newsletters, small number for school board meetings, the direct mailings had a solid response, the website, and some for community meetings. So there wasn't anything new. We asked about frequency. As needed during school budget was about the same as quarterly. Monthly had a little bit of a response. Some people wanted once a year information, but mostly you saw the big buckets of quarterly or as needed during budget season.
am I reading this right, that monthly?
Some people want monthly budget information. And that's okay. I mean, sometimes it's not necessarily directly tied to the budget, but perhaps we have, again, with JR, we try and push out information about our schools all the time so that we have some things going out every month. I think that's
I
important.
should be on the school board.
You should watch the school board meetings and then you'll have information about that.
Talk about this twice a month.
So the quarterly and as needed during budgeting is the major
Yeah.
portion of it, so that kind of tells me they'd like to see quarterly, meaning you're getting it throughout the year. And then as we get into budget season, obviously we'll have a few more information.
Absolutely. I think, making a point of our financial reports, which we certainly do at least quarterly, and then, which is budget information.
But with open community, we can
do
more
even
easily
more.
push out some graphics, pick a subject that maybe.
Well, they should watch public access TV. We had a very small number of people who said they get the information from you.
Yes.
If you watch that, they're getting every 2 weeks.
Well, what gets me is a small number saying they're getting it from mail-ins, and we're mailing it to everybody.
Well, I don't know about you, but sometimes when things come to my house, they don't often get read, right?
Our pretty flyers.
But our flyers are beautiful, and it's during the budget vote time, so people tend to take a look at
Well,
it.
we did see that last year when
Yeah.
we were really getting in the thick of it. People were showing up to meetings with the flyer,
Yeah,
right? So we know that matters, and we know that certain demographic, they like getting things in the mail. So.
absolutely. And again, I think we would be remiss if we just put all our eggs in one basket of communication. We have to get folks who still like to look at the newspaper and folks that want to have messages sent right to their homes through the school and things that are up on the website, videos. So, I think it's important that we do the broad array.
I also think it depends on their age group.
Yes, absolutely.
I have a lot of older people that tell me they watch our meetings on the public access TV and they read it in the newspaper, so. And, they're not ones to go on the computer and Facebook all the time, so.
They're probably not the ones taking the survey either.
No. Right, exactly. No, that's right, so we need to not, like Julie said, just say, oh, okay, everybody said this, we need to continue.
But it's very helpful information, and we will then be looking at our annual input that we usually send out, and making sure we do it before Thanksgiving. We talked about doing it a little bit earlier, maybe the week before, so we'll have that drafted as well.
Is it appropriate to use our message board and highlight the meetings where we will be having budget discussions?
Absolutely, we could do that.
Because some people might come if they know
Yep.
there was a budget discussion, a budget line item. Doesn't always mean a lot's gonna happen, it might be 1 of 10 items, but if they knew we were gonna talk about budget, some people might just come by.
Absolutely.
Are you talking about the MVU
Sign.
or the
Yeah.
central?
I'm thinking MVU, Highgate, and Swan Village.
That's
But
what I didn't know if you meant the one
particularly
in
the
the
one out
village.
here.
Because I think
We control that
they're
one.
very well seen.
But if you come out of West Swanton and go to Burlington to work, you never come by here. So
Yeah.
if it would be possible to at least get some of that information.
Especially those input meetings and things like that.
And sometimes the idea that you put something out and invite people, even if they can't make it, it leaves a good feeling between them and the school, that at least we reached out.
Absolutely.
Excellent, thank you, Julie. Next agenda item, admin reviews, which
We'll do that in
into
executive session. I was actually thinking we should be able to go into Yeshua's office to do that. More executive session in there.
Okay, and negotiations update, finding for executive session.
We do that there as well.
So then we can go to committee updates. with facilities. Do you have any updates?
I didn't really prepare anything. We had a good meeting. We had some of the supervisors there, met with us. So it was nice to hear from them and all the good work they're doing. We talked about projects that we've talked about in the past and some new projects. So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming to the board in coming months to mull over. What I came away with, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe Don doesn't feel the same way, or maybe you don't, but there's so much stuff. I don't see how we are going to be able to get it all done in this next year. I think we're going to be next few months looking at it and see what are the priorities, what do we have to get done, what can we put off. So there's going to be a lot of tough discussions, I think, coming up in the next couple of months.
I agree. I think we'll see a lot of each other, you, Steph and I, but one of the things that was said that meeting, I think I want to keep in mind is, if there were things last year we put forward and we really advocated for them and in the end had to cut them, they need to get back on the table. Otherwise we lose credibility. If we say, parking lot, big project, we don't need it anymore. We told you 5 times last year we did, but now we don't.
Yeah, I think, we're going to be definitely discussing that, but we've got other issues that, with
I mean, we can't do it all.
the environmental stuff, though, that if we can, stormwater, if we can't do that, we really don't want to tear the pavement. So I agree, I completely agree with you. If there's something that we had that we wanted last year, we have to have a good reason not to be pushing it
and that
forward.
particular one is a good one. If the state controls it, what we can do, and they don't seem to be too concerned about timeliness. But anyway, I think we'll put the time in we needed to. But you're right, we have to have good answers if we change our priorities, unless something drastic comes up.
And I think obviously funding sources, we're looking at different, like we continue to look at leases, and there's low interest loans out there, and so I think that also comes into play. What's available.
So we're not doing the, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We're not doing the stormwater things this year, is that my understanding?
Not this current fiscal year.
Well, we just got an email 2 days ago. I sent them an email because we still hadn't heard anything about their bid process, and Jason and I were afraid they were gonna put it off again. And they came back and asked us if we had any interest in doing it this spring. I think it will come down to money and if they can pull off the bidding process, and then how will the bids come in? Maybe we'll get more competitive bids because it'll be early in the spring, or, I don't know. So I'm talking to Jason about that, so I can bring that to the next meeting too, to see if we can.
If we could do it, it'd be great.
The bid, I don't know if we got bid or bids last, but they were higher than.
They never put them, they never put out to bid, so they went out for the whole state at one time, and 40% higher and up from there.
Well, what I was driving at, which I guess that kind of changes what I was thinking, but I was driving at is the fact is if we don't do it, then is there something else that we have, say for next year, that we could do to use that money to, that we could get completed
before
before
no problem using money.
Well, right, but I mean, what I'm saying is instead of just saving, saying, well, we not spend the money, spend it on something we were going to plan to do next year, but that's something that we can do obviously before June 30th. And I don't know, was that the thought, or what we, Because if we have to carry it into next year, then whatever we were going to spend next year, if we could do it in the spring. I mean, this kind of changes things, but that's what I'm thinking.
Obviously, it would be better if we were able to do it in the spring.
Oh, I agree.
But until 3 minutes ago, we didn't know that.
Right.
I know, things change.
Which is fine.
But we are Jason and myself are bringing proposals to we continue to look at, is there anything else we can do now, at least have the
Yes.
facility committee continue, so we've got color codes all over again, like we're, timeline wise, we keep moving things around, so it's all part of what we're talking about,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because it would be a shame to not substitute something that we need to do next year if this money has to be pushed into next year.
Right, and she's exactly right, that's what we've been looking at every month, pretty much. The issue is, can we get it completed?
Right,
Get the
I
money?
get it, yeah, I understand that.
So those are the projects we're looking at.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
Student success committee.
So we met last Wednesday, yes, and we just, at first we just did, we just opened it up to Yashua and Christy and Jen to see how the first 6 weeks of school had gone. So, seemed to have gone well, and just putting it, into second gear academically, I think, Yashua, is what you said, like, okay, we're just gonna, speed it up here a little bit. One of Chrissy's comments was that, yes, the kids are settling in and they're finding their comfort zone. So there was some reminders that did go out, that needed to go out as far as hazing and harassment and bullying, just to, just try to nip that in the bud. And Jen did comment, she was really pleased, really happy that there was the college fair, and they had, I believe, 60 students that attended that at St. Mike's. So she was, that seemed to be a good solid number. And then Celine did just a quick but presentation on truancy, and it was really just data for the month of September, but she also had data for the past 3 years. So it was nice to see the improvement. It was nice to see that every year that, students are getting better and just, showing up for school. So, but she talked a lot about what she does. So that was really interesting, and I'm sure, I do think it would be worth having her come to the board and present, how she works with the families and how she works with the students and, the teachers and the teams, to get the students to come to school, the importance of it. So, and then we had Jen presented on the program of studies. So we had asked if we could see or hear how they just do the schedule, for the middle and the high school. So that was really interesting. And she gave us, and if you guys want this, we can share it with you. We have it in our file, but when we talk about, student ratio, she, listed all of the teachers at Missisquoi, so middle and high school, how many classes, how many blocks, they teach, and how many students they see every day. So that was really interesting. And she gave us a list. These are new classes that are being taught, subjects, new classes that are being taught this year. So Monsters in Literature, and there's 24 students taking that class. Vermont History, there's 79 students taking that class. Social Studies through Media, there's 11 students taking that class. Computer Science, there's 32 students taking that class. Teacher Helper Peer, there's 33 students that signed up for that, and that's, where students sign up to help teachers.
They get a quarter credit to work with the teacher.
The teachers,
and be a peer support.
Yeah, and I felt like even the office staff too, like I think, if they wanted to help out, and it just gives them really great experience. So, and then the Pathways, there was 19 students. So it was a great meeting. Next month, we will be, Kosha will present for the
Start out.
Yep. And maybe we'll touch a little bit on AI.
Yes.
Okay.
Joanne?
Yes.
I don't know if this would be a future agenda thing for your committee, or even if you can do it, but when we went through COVID, there was a lot of discussion about this is going to have ripple effects for years to come. And I'm just curious if there's any way, and not just academic, but socially, all these things. Are we, take like 5th grade, for example, they were probably in kindergarten then. Do we see differences with the 5th graders today than we did, 4 or 5 years ago? Or, I'm just curious, and I don't even know if we can quantify that, but I'm just wondering if we could.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I don't know that we had the Start 360, right, prior to COVID.
We've had it, but not in all of our schools and not
Okay,
at all the grade
so
levels.
It's a little bit harder to compare the apples to apples.
It's tricky to say this is COVID and this is
Right.
just the kids that are in front of us now. Because especially with young children, kids who are 10 are their experience, what they do for entertainment, how much time they have on a screen is different from a 15-year-old's, which is different from a 20-year-old's. It's we heard a statistic from Sarah Ward the other day of sustained attention, and for years the amount of time a child has sustained attention used to be about 2 minutes per their age, so you multiply up from the age of 5 on, you add another 2 minutes, and now it's about 30 seconds. And boy, you should have heard the gasp in Swanton School when she revealed that, because they all said, "Oh, I'm not crazy. I've been noticing something that's real." Some of that is COVID, some of that is how much time kids are on devices instead of with objects or outside, and it's not all kids, but it's more kids than used to be. So it's hard to put on at one thing, but I think that all of us across the country and in Vermont are seeing, the assessments are harder than they used to be. The bar is really high, and more of our kids are struggling to get there, which is why we've made investments in the way that we have, but it's an up and down battle.
I will say, we do, every time that we have the data, I think we're pretty, we make it a point to look at those groups and how, if this group that is now 5th graders are they making any sort of gains? And yeah, it's not apples to apples, but we can still get a basic idea of whether we're thinking or not thinking. They're demonstrating that some of those gaps are closing. I think we look at that for academics for the testing, but also we do get behavior reports from Christy and Yeshua. He comes to the meetings, and I think we are focusing on that, but
we're
Joe
having
said,
a meeting
there's so many.
Yeah, Steve's going to come in December to the full board. We talked about November, but he has a conflict. So December, and talk about data and HHB and where we are compared to last year. But both those things we look at. We both look at infractions, but we also look at how well students score on their social skills, which is something that our district is pretty unique in how we assess that. It's based on our competencies. So we look, but a great example is there is a gap in math performance in 4th and 5th grade nationally. And our district is part of a study that's looking at that because people aren't sure why. And is it that the standards are a little too high in those grade levels? There's too much of a developmental jump? Is it the way tests are constructed? Is it something about 4th and 5th grade curriculum? Because it changes afterwards, but it's a bit of a mystery. So I think it's great that our COSHA signed us up to be a part of that study. I think we're the only district in Vermont that's a part of that, because that was our wondering as well.
Yeah.
Is it a COVID piece? Oh, but if it is, how come it's a couple years in a row?
Right.
That's confusing to us. So yeah, we look at those kinds of things all the time. It's a good venue for doing that too.
Joanne. Just maybe like a thought or an idea, but because I'm like thinking budget. One of the things that when we do like our informational is there is a piece that like we report on like sort of student outcomes to an extent, or like is it student services? Which one is it more?
What is he asking?
No. He hasn't asked anything. So I haven't. Megan's right. No, I was just saying that, like I guess keep going back to the student outcome piece, and a lot of times we report on that information in like May or June, where are students going and what are they doing. But I think having, like, I don't know, some sort of a report or like something we can present during budget season that's kind of showing like this is what we are producing over time for the students who are coming through all of it. Like everything that we're showing for the students who are in the system is great, but you know, ultimately, how are we preparing them and where are they going and what are they doing? I think being able to like show that data, show that information, and say, you know, at the same time as we're presenting budgets and stuff, like.
So it's almost like we would have to survey our seniors.
Well, so and that's
January?
well, no.
We could do the previous year, like the graduating class
Yeah.
of 24.
No.
What we have, this year, we're still waiting for the VSAC survey that comes out. It hasn't come out yet this fall, but when we get that, that'll go to the committee. And it depends on how many kids fill it out. So it's different every year, but we can at least compare year to year what the trends are.
Yeah, and I've asked this before and stuff, and I understand the challenges, right? Because not everybody fills it out, not everybody gives the information and stuff, but I think ultimately maybe just having something earlier to really talk about as we're tying it into the budget.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to gather some of this data, and it doesn't just have to be from last year. It can be the last few years. Like, this is how we've improved. This is what we've done. This is where our students are going. Because I distinctly remember the one call-in piece when we did an informational a couple years ago, and somebody called in and said, "I don't mind even spending more. I want to know it's making our students better in the long run."
But I think we can also maybe take a page from higher ed. Like, they all talk about placement rates and employment rates and grad school rates. They don't have anywhere near 100% response. But it's like, of the respondents, 98% are in grad school within 6 months or employed. So like, there are ways that you can use the data. I mean, you have to be clear about that on the actual reports, like if we put it on the website, but yeah.
So that's just maybe something.
It's called marketing.
The students say that committee.
I think the guidance counselors have all that information too. Most of the guidance counselors knew where their students were going this year, and we have the data on how many went into the military, how many were in the work placement program, you know, how many were in the early college who then took advantage of that second free year before moving on.
Right.
They have that data.
Which, you know, we report on in June, but
That's the wrong time.
that's, you know, to your point, we can review the data that we have and be purposeful in making sure we're bringing that up through the budget season,
Yeah,
is
so-
what I think I'm hearing.
Yeah, and also just to the students test committee, like, you know, if you're digging into weeds in certain items, maybe you can, you know, talk about that more and then give the input on what you think makes sense as we get closer to. I got to my point, okay? I'm glad you got it, okay?
She simply answered.
Took a while.
Like, I thought I was asking for like a budget question, like how much money?
Budget
you know,
promotion.
Right.
Well,
Like I was
think it was
waiting
because
for, what
I
does
said-
it cost to
I said
teach
student
these
services earlier, and I think that was why I got confused.
I'd like a very clear chart on that, Joanne. Thank you.
Get right on it. And the finance committee.
We haven't met since, no, I think it's
Yeah, I know.
Tuesday? Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, so we haven't actually had a meeting since August, so nothing new. We will have more after and many meetings. We'll discuss the timeline and all that stuff, but I don't have anything new to report. We haven't already talked about it, so.
Thank you. Future agenda items, fall sports updates, skip night updates, Swanton improvement team updates. And then, future board meeting will be,
Probably on updates, FFA will be back after their convention.
Yep, that's coming up, I think, in December.
and then the
Got it all scheduled out.
future board meeting, we'll have to have that noted in the next meeting. That's gonna be November 4th at MVU. So, go into, can we swap the executive sessions for the negotiations update being first here, having Laura and inviting you and Laura in?
Absolutely.
And then after we'll do the admin reviews in.
That's fine. It's just a big open space and there's still people in the building, so I thought going to the other room.
For both of them? Oh, okay.
That it
Yeah,
might be
okay, so
better
we'll
to-
go into Yeshua's office, inviting Laura and Julie, and the negotiations update, and then Laura can leave, and then we'll do the admin review.